Alright, part 3, here we go. We're going to use some gold frets from Symptoms. They sent me a sample pack of gold fret wire. They are out of Belarus, and we're going to try these today on this guitar. So I'm going with gold, pearl, and green. Should be a great color combination. They sent me enough for 2 guitars. So we're going to put these in my roller, my fret roller. Give them a radius here. Ignore my wife's call. And we will put these through twice. So this is a 12-inch radius. We'll roll these to be just a little bit more than they need to be, and then we'll clamp them down when we glue them. Make sure that they fit perfectly. So those are some stainless steel end nippers, and they work really well. They're probably my best end nippers. So we'll size up each fret, cut them with a pair of clips. The tangs are a little brittle, so I straighten them out, and then we'll walk over to my sander, sand the edge, cool it off, make sure it fits right, and then do another one. So I like to do about 4 or 5 frets at a time. Clip, size, straighten the tang, walk back over to my sander, get the edge flush. I've learned that doing this with stainless steel frets, it just eases the sanding and grinding down later. I sort of prefer doing it this way. It's a tad bit slower, but I think I've got a pretty good process. So you can see with the GoPro on my head, just going back and forth, walking around the shop. So we're going to use Titebond glue. Pop in the fret, push it down, do about 4 or 5 at a time, and then clamp them. So we'll hammer this in, make sure that it's sitting right. And of course, when I'm filming, this one doesn't want to sit right. So we'll line it up on the press, push down with the caul. Make sure you've got a damp rag handy to clear all that glue out. And this is why I sealed that fretboard before, because I knew once I have the glue and the water, it was sort of going to ruin it. And I wanted it to be sealed already. So we'll hammer this one in. You can see the 12-inch radius. Again, wipe it off. And since this fretboard is new and it's dead flat, I won't have to level these much later. I'm going to then just clean off the sides, put a bevel on it, and then leave it, and I'll make a couple adjustments here and there. Shouldn't have to do much work. One of the things you don't want to do, guys, when you're fretting is push way too hard down. If you push too hard, you'll indent the fret sometimes. So this is softer maple. Flame maple is tad softer, let's say like ebony. And I've seen guys like really push hard with all their weight. You don't really want to do that. You just want to press it so it drops in the slot and sort of pops in. So I think I've got 4 or 5 done here. Maybe I'll do one more, and then we'll clamp it in. We'll take the 12-inch radius sanding block and just clamp it down and leave it. So for about 22 frets, I can cover about 7 frets at a time and just do this over 24 hours. Do some in the morning, some in the evening, and then some the next morning, and then you've got the frets glued in. So I've got my flat end nippers, and I clean off one that didn't sit right. And this is my custom file beam. So it sands the frets flush with the fretboard. We'll go back and forth. I've got the guitar neck clamped down to my piece of wood and screwed in. So we'll just go back and forth and level these out. So that's the sanding beam I made for fret jobs. All in, this doesn't take too long. You just want to go slow. Feel the frets, make sure that you're not digging into the wood. So I leave my hand, the right hand, on the side so I can keep the tool on the fretboard so it doesn't jump. If you get really aggressive, it'll jump off and then you'll scratch your frets, which has happened before. So just go back and forth, take a look, make sure I'm not going too far, feel them, and keep going. Next up then, we are going to clean out the truss rod channel. Truss rod is buried beneath the overlay, so that's the Indian rosewood overlay. I've got a 1/4 inch bit here and I'm just popping it out. So drill out that piece of wood, come back with a chisel, clamp it down, clean it up a little bit. I want to leave that lip intact where the edge of the nut is, so I'm just trying to clean out the top part here. Then I've got these cool burrs, these file burrs. My dad got these for me a couple years ago and they work out really well. Got a bunch of different sizes here, and this really helps with getting this filed out in a concave way. So go back and forth, make sure it's nice and clean, make sure I can get my Allen wrench in there to adjust the truss rod. Vacuum it out, see how we're feeling. Maybe come back once more here. The burr turns up a little bit of piece of wood, so we're just cleaning that up with the chisel. One last bit. So we're going to be using ratio tuners from Graphtec. I love these tuners. I'll be doing a review of them shortly. We're doing 3x3 gold. The way these tuners sit into the neck are pretty cool. I've got 2 nibs. And what we'll do is just press these down, come back with a marking tool, and then drill them out. So make sure that they're level. Push down to see where the indentation is. And then we get my awl and just push in where the 2 nibs are. That way I can then find a template, clamp a template down, and drill these out real quick. So I've got a piece of tape on my 7/64 drill bit. I've got my B headstock logo that already is set up as a template, and then I've got a 10mm dowel, and I just plop this in, drill, and I'm done. This actually works out pretty well. Keeps everything straight. I can just move this around. I've got a clamp, spring clamp with soft pads to not damage the headstock. We're going to take the nut and we're going to line this up on a awl. I've got an awl with a flat edge there. It's like a marking knife. And we're going to take my radius block and set this up so I can cut this at a perfect angle. So the headstock is already angled. I glued in the inlay, and I've got to take my saw now and just cut off the piece of wood that is right by the fretboard so the nut fits. So we're going to line up this little jig. I'll come back and forth with a cross-cut pull saw and just cut this off. This is a neat little trick that I've learned over the years to get that angle perfectly square and flush with the fretboard and the nut. So this is a nice professional look. So I cut down that template. That overlay, headstock overlay, is only about a 1/16, maybe a little bit less. And I gotta, once I get just enough far enough, I'll come back with a couple different files, a couple different tools to just pop off that little piece. You want to be really careful you don't go too far, because then you cut into the neck. So go really slow, get it nice and clean, and that you can see it just pops off there. A little bit of glue residue left over, and StewMac has these flat bottom nut files. One of the better tools I have from them. I've only bought the 1/8 for fender necks. This is about 3/16 and I haven't bought that size. I don't think I need it. I just sort of move it back and forth. At this point the neck is done and we'll start on the body. I'll post that video here on Monday. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next video.